What if the man you see in a mirror is slowly becoming a stranger, not in his face, but in his spirit? A subtle shift, a quiet dimming of the fire you once took for granted. It begins as a whisper, a hesitation where there once was certainty, an echo of fatigue in a body that used to feel boundless. You might feel it down there, a lack of response that feels like a betrayal, or perhaps it's a persistent chill in your hands and feet, a constant reminder that the warmth isn't reaching where it needs to go. Many men over 60 resign themselves to this fate, accepting the convenient lie that this is simply the cost of aging. But that is not the truth. The truth is far more critical and far more hopeful. This fading vitality is not an inevitable sentence. It is a symptom of a silent thief at work, an unseen current within you that has slowed to a trickle, starving your body of the very essence of its power blood flow. This isn't about accepting decline. This is about fighting back with wisdom. Welcome to Senior Health and Life, the place where we refuse to let the narrative of aging be written by surrender. Today, we expose the root of the problem, the pipeline that fuels your energy, your performance, and your very sense of self. We will not offer you temporary fixes or mask the issue with prescriptions. Instead, we will arm you with a powerful natural arsenal of 3 essential foods backed by science designed to restart that vital current and help you reclaim the man you know you still are from the inside out. This isn't just about feeling better. It's about feeling like yourself again. If you are ready to stop treating symptoms and start rebuilding your foundation, then commit to this journey with us. This is more than just a video. It's a turning point. Subscribe to our channel now and ring the notification bell, because what we share each week isn't just information, it's empowerment. Your future self will thank you for the decision you make today. Before we reveal the first food, let's begin with a moment of reflection. This is a question about your personal approach to health, and there is no wrong answer, only your truth. When you face a new health challenge, what is your first instinct? A, to find a fast-acting solution that can relieve the symptom quickly. B, to investigate the root cause even if the solution takes more time and effort. Think about it for a moment and then type A or B in the comments below. The path you instinctively choose can reveal a great deal about the journey ahead. Now let us begin the work of restoring your power, starting with a humble ingredient that holds the key to unlocking everything. Our journey back to vitality does not begin in a sterile laboratory or an expensive pharmacy. It begins in the earth. It lies waiting in a humble, pungent bulb that most men walk right past in the produce aisle, dismissing it as mere seasoning. This is our first secret weapon, garlic. But to call it a food is to misunderstand its power entirely. Think of it instead as a key maker, a master locksmith for the circulatory system that time has begun to lock down. Inside every clove lies a powerful, almost intelligent compound called allicin, which is released only when the garlic is crushed or chopped. This is not just a chemical reaction, it is an awakening. When allicin enters your body, it begins a diplomatic mission to the very lining of your blood vessels, which after 60 years have often grown rigid and unresponsive. It doesn't force them open with the brute force of a pharmaceutical. Instead, it gently reminds them of their youthful flexibility. It conspires with your body's own forgotten wisdom to produce more nitric oxide, the natural signal that tells your arteries to relax to breathe, to widen. This process reawakens the dormant rivers within you, allowing life-giving blood to flow freely once more, not just to your heart and brain, but to the very extremities that have felt cold and distant for far too long. This is the difference between a temporary patch and a foundational repair. It is the body learning to heal itself again. Consider the story of Samuel, a 72-year-old retired carpenter who had spent his life building things to last. His hands, which could once frame a house with precision and strength, had grown weak and were often cold to the touch. He felt a deep, private shame that the architect of so many strong foundations could not prevent his own from crumbling. He started the garlic ritual with the skepticism of a craftsman examining a cheap tool. Each morning, he crushed 2 cloves, let them sit as instructed, and swallowed them with a glass of water. For weeks, he noticed nothing but the lingering taste. But one afternoon, while working in his wood shop, he reached for a heavy clamp and tightened it without the usual tremor in his hand. He stopped looking at his own steady fingers in disbelief. Later that week, he walked up a hill near his home and felt none of the familiar tightness in his calves. It was a quiet victory, one no one else would see. But for Samuel, it was everything. He wasn't just getting stronger, he was becoming himself again. This can be your story too. The ritual is simple: crush 2 to 3 fresh cloves of garlic daily. Allow them to rest for 10 minutes. This is crucial for the allicin to fully activate. Then consume them. You can mix them with a spoonful of honey or stir them into a simple dressing. This is not a chore. It is a daily pact you make with your body. But unlocking the flow is only the first step. The channels themselves are often inflamed, narrowed by years of quiet irritation. Our next secret weapon doesn't just open the gates. It calms the storm within those walls, rebuilding them from the inside out. While garlic works to awaken the dormant pathways and command the current to flow, that is only half the battle. For even the most powerful river cannot surge through a channel that is choked with debris and scorched by hidden smoldering fire. This internal fire, gentlemen, is chronic inflammation, and it is the quiet architect of decline in men over 60. For decades, we were taught a myth that masculine strength was built on the foundation of red meat on a heavy, dense power of the steer. But that is a story from a different era, and it is a story that is costing modern men their vitality. The truth now illuminated by cardiovascular science is that profound restorative strength comes not from the field, but from the sea. When it comes to extinguishing that internal fire and rebuilding the very fabric of your circulation, there is no greater ally than fatty fish like wild salmon, mackerel, and sardines. This is not merely heart-healthy food. This is a biological reset. These fish are saturated with a unique kind of healing intelligence in the form of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. Think of these compounds not as nutrients, but as peacemakers sent into the war zone of your arteries. Where inflammation has made the vessel linings brittle and scarred, omega-3s arrive to soothe, repair, and restore flexibility. They don't just patch the damage, they retrain the riverbanks to be supple and strong, allowing the life-giving current to flow with the effortless power it once had. This is the difference between a system that is forced to work and one that functions with grace. It is the core of what separates a body that feels like a constant effort from one that feels like a responsive, energetic home. Consider the story of David, a 68-year-old retired history professor. After his wife passed, the colors of his life seemed to fade to gray. He ate from cans and boxes, his body feeling as heavy and neglected as his silent home. He felt disconnected not just from the world, but from himself, a ghost haunted by the memory of the vigorous man he used to be. One afternoon, driven by a flicker of defiance against his own inertia, he went to a fish market, a place he hadn't visited in years. He bought a beautiful cut of wild salmon not because he was hungry, but because it was something his wife would have done. That evening, as he prepared the meal, the simple act of seasoning the fish and hearing it sizzle in the pan felt like a prayer. It was the first act of intentional self-care he'd performed in a long time. He committed to this ritual 3 times a week. The change was not a lightning strike, but a slow dawning sunrise. After a month, he noticed the persistent fog in his mind had begun to lift. The static of low-grade inflammation was quietening. He started sleeping through the night and waking up feeling not just rested, but whole. The nagging aches in his joints began to subside, but the most profound change was a feeling he couldn't quite name, a sense of being fully present in his own skin again. He told his son, "I feel like I'm finally coming home to myself." He wasn't just nourishing his body. He was feeding a part of his soul that had been starved for years. He was unlearning the myth that strength had to be forceful and was instead embracing a new kind of quiet, resilient power. While omega-3s quell the internal fire and rebuild the pathways, there is one final, often overlooked enemy: the constant microscopic damage of oxidative stress, the cellular rust that weakens the structure from within. To truly protect the system, we need more than a peacemaker. We need a guardian, a shield. And that shield comes from a bright, zesty source you might never have expected to play such a crucial role in your masculine vitality. Now that we have fortified the foundations with the raw power of garlic and fatty fish, we must turn our attention to a more insidious enemy. It is not a blockage, but a decay, a slow, invisible rusting that happens from within, turning the supple, life-giving highways of your arteries into brittle, fragile pathways. This is the shadow of oxidative stress, a relentless process that tarnishes your internal brilliance and over time robs your body of its resilience. To combat this shadow, we need more than just building blocks. We need a guardian. We need a source of pure, vibrant light. This brings us to our third and final pillar of circulatory health, an often underestimated family of foods that holds the very essence of zest and vitality: citrus fruits. To dismiss an orange, a lemon, or a grapefruit as mere breakfast fare is to overlook one of nature's most elegant defense systems. The brilliance of citrus lies in its dual-action mastery over the aging process of your blood vessels. Within these fruits, vitamin C is not just a nutrient. It is a master artisan, tirelessly working to produce and maintain collagen. Think of collagen as the strong, flexible scaffolding that gives your arteries their youthful integrity. Without it, they become weak and prone to damage. But the true magic lies hidden within the peel and pulp in compounds called flavonoids. These are the silent protectors, the sentinels that guard the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium, and coax it into releasing more nitric oxide. This is the crucial signal that tells your vessels to relax, to open, and to let life flow through them without resistance. It is a 1-2 punch of profound effectiveness. One part rebuilds the structure, the other ensures its flawless function. Let me tell you about Samuel. At 77, he was a man whose world had begun to lose its color. A passionate watercolor painter his entire life, he found himself staring at his canvases with a sense of detachment. The vibrant blues and fiery reds he once mixed with joy now appeared muted, dull. He told his daughter, "It feels like I'm seeing life through a dusty window." This wasn't just a feeling, it was a physical reality. The fine capillaries in his eyes, starved by weakening circulation, were delivering a less vivid picture of the world. His hands, once steady with a brush, were now often cold and stiff. His creative fire was dimming because the physical fire within him was being starved of oxygen. He wasn't just aging, he was fading. His daughter, recalling some old wisdom, began a simple ritual for him. Every morning she would bring him a small glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. Throughout the day, his water pitcher was infused with thick slices of lemon. Samuel was skeptical, seeing it as a trivial gesture against the great tide of time. But he obliged more for her love than for any belief in the cure. For weeks, nothing seemed to change. But one crisp autumn morning, Samuel woke up and walked to his window. He stopped holding his breath. The maple tree in his yard wasn't just red, it was a blazing symphony of scarlet and gold so intense it almost hurt to look at. He felt a warmth in his fingertips he hadn't felt in years. That same afternoon, for the first time in over a year, he picked up his paintbrushes. What Samuel experienced was the slow, steady work of citrus. It was the vitamin C rebuilding the microscopic integrity of his blood vessels, the flavonoids pushing back against the oxidative fog, allowing rich oxygenated blood to once again reach the farthest corners of his body. His eyes, his hands, his brain. He wasn't just seeing color again, he was feeling it. His art was reborn because the artist himself was being renourished from the cellular level up. This is the profound power we so often miss. Restoring your body isn't about one grand sweeping gesture. It is about the small, consistent rituals that invite life back in. Adding a splash of lemon to your water or starting your day with an orange is not merely a dietary choice. It is a declaration. It is an act of letting the light in, a daily commitment to washing away the dust, and a promise to yourself to live out your years not in grayscale, but in the most brilliant color imaginable. We have talked about garlic, about fish, and about citrus. But as we come to the end of our time together, I want you to understand that this was never truly about food. It was about a far more profound decision. It was about choosing to reject the story that society writes for men past a certain age, a story of quiet fading, of inevitable decline, of accepting a lesser version of yourself. For decades, your body has been your loyal partner in every battle, every victory, every quiet moment of joy, and every long night of worry. It has kept a silent score, and the signals it sends you now, the fatigue, the lack of response, are not signs of its betrayal. They are cries for reinforcement, cries for the right materials to rebuild, to restore, to honor the covenant you have with it. The journey we have outlined is not a diet. It is a declaration. It is the beginning of a conscious partnership with your own life force. Every clove of garlic you crush is not just an ingredient, it is a vote for vitality. Every meal of fatty fish you choose over a convenient processed alternative is a small act of rebellion against the notion that your best days are behind you. Every glass of lemon water is a promise you make to yourself that you are worthy of care, that you are deserving of strength, and that the man you have always been still resides within, waiting for the right nourishment to step forward once more. This path requires a different kind of strength than the one you knew in your youth. It is not the strength of brute force, but the strength of quiet consistency. It is the wisdom to understand that the most powerful changes are not born from violent effort, but from gentle daily act of self-respect. This restoration of your physical self will inevitably ripple outward into your world. The return of that vital current of blood flow is the return of energy to engage with your grandchildren, the return of stamina to pursue a passion you had set aside, the return of the confidence to be a full partner to the one you love. It is the difference between observing your life from the sidelines and stepping back into the center of the arena. It is about more than just reclaiming performance in one area. It is about reclaiming your performance in the grand theater of life itself. The power to do this does not lie in a pharmacy. It lies in your own hands, in your own kitchen, and most importantly, in your own will. You have now been given a map. You have been shown the keys. The path forward is clear, not easy, but clear. The great choice is now yours. Will you continue to accept the story of decline, or will you pick up the tools you've been given and begin the noble work of rebuilding? The world will tell you to slow down, to fade gracefully. But your body, your spirit, is asking you to do something far more courageous, to live fully, to engage deeply, and to honor the incredible legacy of the life you have lived by nourishing it until your final day. Choose to be the man who defied the narrative. Choose to be the author of your next most vibrant chapter. See you in the next video.